Hello everybody, I've just finished my day of school and I've had a little look at class stage at all the work and what talented writers we have. I'm going to read our key stage chunk now and the writers I've chosen are Ray from year 1, Miles from year 1, Freya from year 2, Beatrix from year 4 and Florence from year 2. Thank you for all your work and thank you everybody for all your hard work with your writing. I've really enjoyed reading all your work. I'm going to read our key stage chunk. As Simba gets older, his dad Mufasa lets him explore the land. He wants to go with Nala, but not so much with Zazu. Zazu is protecting Simba from Nala from getting out of Pride Rock. I just can't wait to be king, said Simba to a frustrated and unhappy Zazu. Sly Simba and naughty Nala twist and turn away from Zazu among the African animals. We did it, said Nala. Not without me, said Simba. Well done. That's another great chunk of our key stage story. I'm really loving our story. I'm so proud of all the work you're doing each day. I'm especially proud of how selective you are with your words. Tomorrow is our 4th chunk and this is the sad scene of the Stampede. This scene is where Mufasa saves Simba from a tree that's falling to pieces and saves Simba, but then when he climbs up the cliff, Scar hits him and he falls back down. Remember that we have skipped some of the story because we're focusing on the juicy bits. In this paragraph, I have 3 targets for you. The first one is a basic symbol, and that is to use the word and I want you to connect 2 ideas together using the word and. For example, you could talk about how the hyenas trigger a stampede and Simba is left in danger. My second target is a tricky one. It's where we're going to start a sentence with an ing word, with an ing word. For example, darting among the wildebeest, Mufasa manages to save Simba. And our final target is to use a complex sentence, starting a sentence with when. For example, when Mufasa climbs up the cliff, Scar hits him with his paw. Let's get started with our writing.
Right, I'm going to start my next paragraph now, but I'm going to need a new page for this. I'm going to have a thinking side still, this side on the left, and then I'm going to have the side where I write on. This scene happens days later after the elephant graveyard scene. So days later, now I'm going to use my first target, which is to use the word and to have 2 clauses on each side. So I'm going to think of what I could put on each side of the word and. So I've got maybe the hyenas cause a stampede, or the hyenas start a stampede, or the hyenas trigger a stampede. Then on the other side of this word and, I'm going to talk about Simba. So Simba is trapped would be one I could use, or Simba is stuck, or Simba is left in danger. So I've got some ideas now for my sentence, my first sentence. So days later, the hyenas, I think I'm going to go for start the stampede, start a stampede. That's st and st, start a stampede of wildebeest. So days later, the hyenas start a stampede of wildebeest. Now, what was the word that I need to put in the middle of my sentence? That's holding it all together. And, isn't it? And, that's right. And Simba, is trapped on a tree. Days later, the hyenas start a stampede of wildebeest and Simba is trapped on a... I'm going to go to my thinking side so I can give a bit more information about that tree, because it's almost falling to pieces, that tree. It's quite dangerous being on that tree for Simba, isn't it? So how could I describe the tree? A collapsing tree, a crumbling tree. Well, I'm not sure about crumbling, actually. The tree isn't really falling into crumbs, is it? Breaking, though. I like breaking. Weak tree is a weak tree. Another weak word for weak, frail. So we've got some good options here. I'm going to go for breaking. So, days later, the hyenas start a stampede of wildebeest and Simba is trapped on a breaking tree. Full stops. There's my first sentence complete. And now I'm going to describe how Mufasa saves Simba. And I'm going to use a fronted adverbial to do this. I'm going to start my sentence with an ing word here. So, like, for example, darting among the wildebeest, Mufasa saves the day. Or hanging for dear life, Simba is saved just in the nick of time by Mufasa. Or sprinting among the wildebeest, Mufasa bravely gets Simba to safety. Which ing words can you think of? So along those lines, and starting a sentence like this with how Mufasa saves Simba helps with the sort of the drama of the scene. It makes it sound like there's a lot of action going on because we're starting with the action. So darting between the wildebeest, Mufasa saves the day, or Mufasa manages to get Simba to safety, or Mufasa scrambles is a nice word. Mufasa manages to scramble Simba to safety, and that scramble makes me think he only just manages to do it. It's so action-packed, this scene, and he just gets Simba to safety. Now I'm going to use the complex sentence target to describe what happens when Mufasa climbs up the cliff, only to be faced with Scar. I'm going to use the 2019 film version where Scar hits Mufasa, but this doesn't happen in the original version. So when Mufasa climbs up the cliff, or when Mufasa escapes, that's better, it's a bit more precise, when Mufasa escapes up the cliff, because he's escaping from that stampede, isn't he, below? So when Mufasa escapes up the cliff, now we need our comma, and then we can continue our sentence. So when Mufasa escapes up the cliff, Scar... Right, I'm going to go over to my thinking side and think about what Scar does to Mufasa. So Scar hits Mufasa. Scar punches Mufasa. Scar slaps Mufasa. Do you know what? I'm not that sure about slaps, actually. I think I'm going to cross that one out. And I'm not too sure about punches. It isn't really a punch what Scar does to Mufasa. How about strikes Mufasa? Yes, I like strikes. So Scar strikes Mufasa. Strikes Mufasa with a deadly blow. Oh, that makes it even better. And sadly, it is a deadly blow, and that's why I like strikes with a deadly blow more than hits. It's a bit more precise. It tells us exactly what's happening. When Mufasa escapes up the cliff, Scar strikes. Now we've already got Mufasa. We've already written Mufasa once in the sentence, so we don't want to repeat his name again. So I'm going to use him. So when Mufasa escapes up the cliff, Scar strikes him with a deadly blow. So with a deadly blow, and what happens next? And the king falls. Yeah, that could be an option. The king falls down the cliff. The king slips Makes it sound like an accident though, doesn't it? The king drops, the king tumbles. Oh, I like the word tumbles. And the king tumbles to the ground and tumbles backwards. I like that. So I'm going to read over the work from today. Days later, the hyenas start a stampede of wildebeest and Simba is trapped on a breaking tree. Darting between the wildebeest, Mufasa manages to scramble Simba to safety. When Mufasa escapes up the cliff, Scar strikes him with a deadly blow and the king tumbles backwards. So I think we'll leave the action there then. Well done for all your work so far this week, and we'll continue our stories after the weekend, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they develop. Be proud of your writing, read it out, share it. It's really impressive, and yeah, you should be proud. See you next week then. Bye bye.